What's happening, everybody? Welcome to the Tommy C channel. Make sure you like, bell, share. I'd love to hear your comments in the description box below. Let's fire up the light. Do you remember this classic, in my opinion, Joe Rogan episode? And in my opinion, this is a classic Joe Rogan moment.
And I believe that to be the case.
So your platform restricts speech.
Our platform promotes speech unless people violate our rules.
And in a specific direction.
In any direction.
But I don't want to say his name. The guy who calls for death gets a suspension. The guy who insinuates death gets a permanent ban.
But Tim, you're misinterpreting what I'm saying, and I feel like you're doing it deliberately. It's not about one particular thing. It's about a pattern and practice of violating our rules.
And you have a pattern and practice of banning only one faction of people.
I don't agree with that.
Recently published an article where they looked at 22 high-profile bannings from 2015 and found 21 of them were only on one side of the cultural debate.
But I don't look at the political spectrum of people when I'm looking at their tweets.
Right, you have a bias.
I don't know who they are.
You're biased, and you're targeting specific individuals because your rules support this perspective.
No, I don't agree with that.
Well, so can you be clear though in like what rules support that perspective?
Specifically, the easiest one is misgendering, right? Because that's so clearly ideological. If you ask a conservative, what is misgendering? They'll say if someone is biologically male, and you call them, she. Biologically male, and you call them she, that's misgendering. That's a conservative view. The progressive view is inverted. So now you actually have in your policies a rule against the conservative perspective. I
have a rule against the abuse and harassment of trans people on our platform.
Okay, there you go. And that is a really revealing and mask-off moment. And in a sense, this is Vijaya Gadde. I hope I got that one. He actually kind of proved his point with her response. Her response was, I have a policy against harassment of transgender people. And what Tim was arguing is your bias is essentially baked into your rule set, which she clearly, I don't want to say she can't understand. I think she understands it deliberately. I think this is, I think these are weasel words. I don't think this person's not an intelligent person. I absolutely, she doesn't simply want to address what they already know. There is a clear and present bias baked into the rules. The conservative side of the cultural debate says misgendering is simply political, whereas the progressive side of the cultural debate thinks that misgendering is akin to harassment. Some would say violence. So therefore, the rules themselves are biased. And what she is saying is the rules are unbiased. They simply stop harassment or meant to stop harassment. And again, I don't believe she doesn't understand that. Well, I had to get my, without getting overly political, I was just trying to explain the situation. Vijaya Gadde was reported that when Elon Musk took over Twitter, the deal's still being not finalized, but he has bought Twitter. That Miss Vijaya Gadde broke out in tears. So Elon Musk dropped a tweet that all but confirms her being fired. And I personally, I hope so, because I think that the swamp must be drained here. Check this out. Unbelievable. And this is very much went on. I mean, there's a lot more to the debate than the clip that I played. And she uses Tim Pool, and he uses the Joe Rogan Podcast Experience logo. This is it. Here's an example of Twitter's left-wing bias. I have to take the context into consideration. And what she did with, I'll give a little more context to that response. What she was trying to say, there has to be repeat violation. All right? Twitter's interpretation of the context is affected by their left-wing bias. I would need to see an example of that. Here's an example of Twitter's left-wing bias. And it is a circle. And I got to be honest with you, that's exactly what went on there. That's exactly what went on there. It was Joe Rogan's version of, so what you're saying is we need to take the context into consideration. So what you're saying is, of course, the famous Channel 4 Jordan Peterson debate. It's very similar in that way. It went to a real circle. So she herself, the person you see there, the person that is employed by Elon Musk, is featured in this meme. Musk went on to tweet, "For Twitter to deserve public trust, it must be politically neutral," which effectively means upsetting the far right and the far left equally. 1 million likes on that sucker. Now, that's all well and good. But again, I think Vijaya Gadde has seen better days. And certainly she's going somewhere else. And I got to be honest, I'm personally thankful for it. I don't know how you can have somebody, and I don't get into this. I'm sorry, I don't fall for the red herring. She understands. That's deception, what you're seeing. That is deception. The only other thing I could really take away from this, and being generous to her, that is what she's saying is the Twitter rules themselves are inherently neutral. And there is no debate. And clearly there's debate here. There's a huge debate here. And that's supposedly what Twitter is for. I also like to point out to you the Project Veritas recorded the, this is, some of this stuff was pretty amazing. Recorded the all hands on deck on the 25th of April meeting that Twitter had with its employees. Some of the questions by the employees could only have been formulated by a 15-year-old girl. It really shows you the mentality in there. Things like who's going to hold Elon accountable, if the board's not there to do it. Well, nobody. He owns the company. The government? I guess. I mean, he's going to have to abide by the rules of every government that Twitter's in. I mean, how do you not know that? How do you not know that? You're emotionally a child for life. I don't think you can wake up when you're 30 some odd years old and just suddenly figure out how the world works. When you're a full-grown adult, making a decent salary, paying your bills, and you say something that insane, who's going to hold Elon accountable if the board's not there? The users? Potentially the governments? Wow. Amazing. I just really wanted to get my opinion on this. I think this story is getting more fascinating. I honestly think after the purchase is much more interesting than the lead up to Elon potentially buying the company or not buying the company. This is a cultural event, I have to admit. And I had to get my opinion on it. Thanks so much for being a part of the Tommy C channel. More content coming, and hopefully more often. I'll see you guys around.